about sonar navigation system. So we are very excited to present this. So our project explores how we can determine the position of a moving object by using the sound only. This is the same principle based on the applications of the submarine sonar, autonomous vehicles, and the robotics. But oftentimes these systems are proprietary or military. But because of this, these are expensive, which restricts the team to work on such technology. But our project proposes a solution for this, as we are using some off-shelf parts which can easily read the code and which is accessible to any team which will work on this project through this system. So now, fellow team member, Ifad is going to tell about the mechanism of this project.
Thank you, Rahat. Now, sir.
This is the built-up portion.
Yes, sir.
This is the built-up portion.
No, sir. We are using circles because it's just one unit. On the PC, you see, we have a program. We show this as a circle, we show that as a circle. We want to show that this is working regardless of distance here. It's a system that works in any position. That's why we have used a circle. There's no different meaning behind it.
Okay, so sir, I will explain you the mechanism of the project. So at the heart of our project is a technique called TDOA, or time difference of arrival. So in this technique, the transmitter sends out a signal through the air towards the machine. And as you can see, there are two receivers here. So the receivers receive them at a different time. And as you know, time has a speed, so each receiver will receive them at a different time. And by calculating that difference, we can determine the position of the transmitter. So this is exactly how our brain calculates where a sound is coming from, by determining which ear gets the sound first. So let me tell you how the machine works. So there are two microphones at 2 points of the machine, which are the ultrasonic receivers. So first, the transmitter sends out a signal or sound pulse towards the machine. Then the receivers records them, and then the machine determines which microphone receives the sound first and how early the microphone receives the sound. And with that information, we can determine the angle of the transmitter. And with the angle of the transmitter and the value of the speed of sound in mind, we can determine the location of the transmitter relative to the receiver. Now, thank you for listening to me. Now, my team member Nahian will demonstrate the project and explain the details.
Thank you for giving me the floor. Sir, before the demonstration, I want to explain how conventional sonar works. Here is a sonar sensor. How this works is that there is a transmitter and a receiver pair. The transmitter will transmit a signal, sonar signal. Yes, sir. And then it will reflect back off of an object, and then it will be received by the receiver, right? And that takes time of flight. So we can count the time of flight, and then from that we can figure out how far away the distance is from the sonar sensor to the object in front of it. Now, this is used for scanning and surveying. But here we are, for positioning, we need two things if we are using polar coordinates, and that is an angle and a distance, right? So now we are using TDOA for the angle. Now, sorry, here on the board, this is our receiver, right? All handmade, sir. This is all soldered by hand. This is the main board which connects everything, and then these are the three transmitters. On the transmitters, you see there are three LEDs, right? Red, green, blue. And on the screen, you also see there are three lines, red, green, and blue. These lines represent the position of the transmitters. As you can see, if I move the green one towards the middle, the green line moves towards the middle. If I move them here, it again follows. Now, I keep saying relative angle. Why is this? Because it is always relative to this receiver. If I, for example, move this entire board, you will see that this shifts. If I face it at the blue one, the red moves to the left, the red line. And if I move it at the green, all of them shift towards the other side. This is for angle. Now, we need to find the position. Angle is a range. So what we propose is that we use a second receiver at another distance, right? So then, the one receiver says the transmitter is at this angle, and the other one says it is at this angle. Then the intersection of those two angles will mean the position of the transmitter is here. This is a technique called trilateration. Now, this is all well, but what are the real life use cases of this, right? This is very important. Off the top of our head, we can think of three main use cases. Number one is autonomous vehicles in emergency situations. Autonomous vehicles rely on line of sight systems. For example, GPS, you need access to the sky for this to work. Optics, you cannot have this in dark. But our system here is able to work in this matter. As long as there is a medium to transfer the sound, it will work. So let's say there is a fire and cameras do not work. Autonomous system will need to rely on something else. What we propose is that in an emergency, our transmitters are spread across an area. Now, transmitters, And this is quite big. If we mass produce them, we can get specialized ICs that allow us to make it very small, very small. Now, these are all made by hand, as you can see. So, and since the signal spreads out radially, it can cover a large area in a short time. So, you spread out all these transmitters throughout the area, and then you put a receiver on the autonomous vehicle. So now the vehicle knows its position relative to all the transmitters, and thus it can navigate that area. Right? That's one. Then two is object surveillance and tracking. Let's say you have a large area you want to cover, right? Warehouse, factory, building, whatever. And you have small objects you need to track the area location of. So what you do is you put again small transmitters on each of the boxes. These are distinguishable, and you put 2 or 3 or 4, however many receivers. With trilateration, the more receivers there are, the more accurate it gets. That's just how it is. More intersections, more points. So now you can track every single object in lifetime. You see, this is all live. There is no delay in any of this. You can track hundreds or thousands of objects like this as long as you can time them properly. So that is for object. Now let's say you want to use this for civil services. Sonar is mainly a military and proprietary service, as said by my team members before. Matter of fact, when researching for this project has been in for 6 months for now. I actually found multiple US military patents of this, and they were useful for this TDOA figuring. They were given flowchart, very useful. Anyways, so this is mostly military and proprietary. This is not available to the civilians, right? So if we can bring this technology to civilians, for example, one of the benefits, let's say you want to track all the people in a place to keep them safe, right? And you put the receivers in a large area, park, footpath, where have you. Then anybody who wants to opt into the safety net, this safety we are building, can just put a transmitter onto them, and then they will be tracked. Their family will know where they are, the country will know where they are. We know Bangladesh, many times people go missing and so on. This helps to fight with that. And the third one we can think of is coordination of autonomous vehicles and drone swarms especially. Again, these systems rely on line of sight system, be it GPS or cameras. Again, not always feasible, but this circumvents that entirely and uses sound. Thousands of objects instantly. Now, this is good. Sonar is an old technology, but it is not, as I said, not available to civilians. So let's say a small team wants to use sonar, but in Google phones, for example, civilian technology, we have Google Pixel phones with their Sony technology. What that is a sonar radar of sorts you can use to 3D map an object, right? But that is a 1,20,000 taka phone. Will every project be able to afford that kind of money? No. Our project, all in all, everything you see on this board costs 3,000 at the very most. And if you make more, the cost will go down because you can order PCBs. This is all made by hand. So we can bring this technology to any team that wants to work with this. Not only teams, but the government as well. As with our citizen safety net we had described. What the government can do is they want to safety per place. They arrange this, right? Small receivers on the lamp posts, on the park benches, where they want, as long as it builds a system, right? So then any citizen who wants to be under this safety net can put on a transmitter, as I said before. So not only does this help the civilians, but it strengthens our national security as a nation. Now, Ifaz Rahman Fahim will talk about will emphasize on my points once again, and support the project. That's fine.